The plane door sealed shut behind my mother, and my daughter's hand went cold in mine. Daddy, why didn't Grandma hear me? I stared through the terminal's floor-to-ceiling windows at the jet with my company's logo gleaming on its tail. My jet. My airline. My empire. The one they said I'd never build without their name, their money, their approval. Helena Cross had just walked past her own granddaughter, like she was invisible. And she did it on my property. She heard you, sweetheart, I whispered, my jaw tight. She just chose not to answer. Elise's eyes filled with confusion, that pure 6-year-old confusion that breaks you because she doesn't understand cruelty yet. She doesn't know that some people measure love in dollar signs and social status instead of hugs and bedtime stories. I pulled out my phone and made one call. Ground that flight. Now. The operations manager's voice cracked. Sir, they're about to taxi. I own this airline, Marcus.
Ground. That.
Flight. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family, enjoy the story. Let me back up because this moment didn't start today. It started 23 years ago when I was stupid enough to think my parents might actually love something more than their empire. I grew up in the Cross Mansion, 42 rooms of marble and crystal and emptiness. My father, Victor Cross, built an empire on real estate and aviation. My mother, Helena, perfected the art of looking stunning while crushing anyone who didn't fit her vision of perfection. Together, they created Cross Holdings, a billion-dollar machine that ran on image, control, and ice-cold calculation. Love? That was for poor people who couldn't afford better. Dinner conversations were board meetings. Birthdays were networking events. And affection? That came with terms and conditions. Adrian, straighten your tie. Investors are watching. Adrian, smile more. You represent the family name. Adrian, stop spending time with those scholarship kids. They're not your equals. I was their oldest son, the heir apparent, the one groomed to take over and multiply their fortune. My younger brother Damon ate it up, loved every second of playing prince in the kingdom of money. But me? I felt like I was suffocating in a world where everything had a price tag except the things that actually mattered. Then I met Layla Rodriguez in college, and everything changed. She was a business major on scholarship, working 2 jobs to cover what financial aid didn't. She wore thrift store jeans and made her own coffee, and when she smiled at me across the library study tables, it wasn't because of my last name. She had no idea who I was. You're blocking my light, she said that first day, not looking up from her textbook. Sorry, I moved my chair. Didn't realize this table was reserved. It's not. But I've been here since 6 a.m., and you're casting a shadow on my notes. I glanced at her watch, a cheap digital thing held together with duct tape. It's barely 7. What are you studying? Accounting. I've got an exam in 3 hours. She finally looked up, and I forgot how to breathe. Aviation management. No exam. Just hiding. From what? My life. She laughed, this real, unfiltered laugh that echoed through the quiet library. Dramatic. I like it. We started meeting at that table every morning. She'd quiz me on flight regulations while I'd help her with corporate finance. She talked about her parents back in Chicago, her mom who taught 2nd grade, her dad who drove buses for 30 years before retiring. They sounded happy. Actually happy. One morning she asked, "What do your parents do?" I hesitated. They're in business. Real estate, mostly. That's vague. It's complicated. Everything's complicated with rich boys. She closed her textbook. Let me guess. They want you to take over the family business. You want to do your own thing, and you're terrified of disappointing them? Something like that. Here's free advice. Disappoint them. Life's too short to live someone else's dream. Easy for her to say. She didn't know disappointment in my family came with consequences. 6 months later, I brought her home for Sunday brunch. Biggest mistake of my life. My mother took one look at Layla's Target dress and discount shoes and smiled that razor-sharp smile she reserved for people beneath her. Charming, she said, not offering her hand. Adrian's brought home strays before. My father didn't even pretend. He pulled me aside before appetizers. She's not our kind, son. Our kind? You know what I mean.
Yeah, Dad.
I do. And that's exactly the problem. The brunch lasted 43 excruciating minutes. My mother asked Layla about her little scholarship like it was a charity case. Damon smirked into his champagne. My father ignored her entirely, discussing stock portfolios with my uncle like Layla wasn't even there. When we left, Layla didn't cry. She just squeezed my hand and said, "Now I understand why you hide." That night, my father called. "You can't marry her, Adrian. Watch me. I'll cut you off. Every penny, every connection, every advantage this family has given you. Then I guess I'll learn to fly without a net." The line went dead. My mother sent one final text. "When she leaves you broken and poor, don't come crawling back. We don't accept failures." They cut me off that week. Trust fund, credit cards, apartment, car, everything. 22 years old, and I was suddenly nobody. Layla didn't even blink.
Good.
Now we build something real. We moved to a studio apartment in Chicago where the heat barely worked and the ceiling leaked when it rained. I got a junior analyst job at a small aviation consulting firm. Layla opened a bakery with a microloan and sheer determination. We ate ramen and day-old pastries and were happier than I'd ever been in the mansion. My parents didn't call. Not once. Not for birthdays, not for holidays, not even when I sent them a wedding invitation. The return envelope came back unopened with "no longer at this address," stamped in red. Message received. But here's the thing about being disowned by billionaires. It gives you something they can never buy. Hunger. The real kind. The kind that makes you work until your eyes blur and your back screams because proving them wrong becomes oxygen. I learned every aspect of aviation from the ground up. Maintenance schedules, fuel logistics, customer service psychology, fleet management, safety protocols. Everything my father thought I'd never master without his name opening doors. 10 years of grinding. 10 years of promotions and smart investments and building relationships based on competence instead of inheritance. Then I launched Astrojet. The knock on my office door pulled me back to the present moment. Marcus from operations stood there, pale. "Sir, the cross flight is grounded. They're demanding to speak with management." I looked down at Elise, still holding my hand, still confused about why her grandmother had turned away. "Tell them management will be right there." They wanted a successor. I became a stranger instead. But today, that stranger owned the sky. Have you ever been rejected by family and turned that pain into power? Drop your story in the comments below. Layla's hand trembled the first time she held the eviction notice. 30 days, she whispered, staring at the paper like it might disappear if she blinked hard enough. "Adrian, we have 30 days. I took the notice from her fingers, read it twice, then crumpled it into my fist. We were 3 months behind on rent for our studio apartment in Chicago. The place where we'd promised each other we'd make it work. The place where we'd laughed through power outages and celebrated promotions with $7 wine. "We'll figure it out," I said, but my voice cracked on the last word. She looked at me with those dark eyes that had made me fall in love in a library years ago. "Your parents would take you back. One phone call, Adrian. One apology, and this all goes away."
No.
"We're about to be homeless." "I don't care. I'm not crawling back to people who measured your worth by your shoes." That was the thing about loving Layla Rodriguez. She made poverty feel like freedom, because at least we chose it together. I met her on a Tuesday morning during my senior year at Northwestern. I was hiding in the library from a breakfast meeting my father had scheduled with potential investors. Another performance where I'd smile and nod while they discussed my future, like I wasn't even there. She sat at the corner table, buried in an accounting textbook, cheap coffee going cold beside her laptop. When I pulled out the chair across from her, she didn't even look up. "This table's taken. There are 40 empty tables in here. And I picked this one. At 6 a.m. Before you were even awake." I should have moved. Any normal person would have moved. But something about her annoyed confidence made me stay. "What are you studying?" "Stuff that actually matters." Unlike whatever rich kid class you're skipping right now. Direct hit. I almost laughed. How do you know I'm rich? Your watch costs more than my tuition. Your shoes are Italian. And you're hiding in a library at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday instead of being wherever important people want you to be. She finally looked up. Am I wrong? Terrifyingly accurate. Thought so. She went back to her textbook. Now go be rich somewhere else. Some of us have real exams. I came back the next morning.
And the morning after that.
By week 3, she'd stopped pretending to be annoyed. By month 2, I knew her coffee order, her class schedule, and the way she chewed her bottom lip when calculus problems got complicated. Why do you keep coming here? She asked one morning, genuinely curious. Because you're the only person who talks to me like I'm just some guy. You are just some guy. Exactly. She smiled, and I was done for. 6 months later, I worked up the courage to bring her home. My parents were hosting one of their famous Sunday brunches, the kind where senators and CEOs pretended to enjoy overpriced eggs while networking over champagne. Layla wore her best dress, a simple blue thing from Target that made her look stunning. I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd see what I saw. Someone real. Someone good. Someone who made me want to be better than the hollow legacy they'd planned for me. My mother's face when we walked through those mansion doors told me everything. She looked at Layla the way you'd look at a stain on expensive carpet. Noticed it. Judged it. Decided it didn't belong. Adrian, darling. My mother air-kissed near my cheek, careful not to smudge her makeup. And this must be your little friend from school. This is Layla. My girlfriend. How lovely. The words dripped ice. And what do your parents do, Layla? My mom teaches 2nd grade. My dad drove buses for 30 years. The silence that followed could have stopped hearts. My brother Damon choked on his mimosa. My father's lawyer actually looked up from his phone. How noble. My mother finally managed. Public service is so important. The emphasis on public service made it sound like a disease. Brunch was torture. My mother asked Layla about her little scholarship 3 times, always with that same patronizing smile. My father ignored her completely, discussing quarterly earnings with his CFO like Layla was furniture. Damon kept smirking into his drink, enjoying the show. When Layla excused herself to the bathroom, my father cornered me by the wine cabinet. She seems sweet, son, but this isn't going anywhere.
Why?
Because she's not rich. Because she doesn't understand our world. Marriage is a merger, Adrian. Strategy. This girl will hold you back from everything you're meant to be. And what am I meant to be, Dad? You?
His jaw tightened.
Careful. She makes me happy. Actually happy. Not fake smile for investors happy. Real happy. Happiness is a luxury you earn after success, not before. He refilled his scotch. End it, or I will. I didn't end it. So he did what he promised. The call came 2 weeks later while Layla and I were studying at her apartment, the cramped place she shared with 2 roommates where I felt more at home than I ever had in the mansion.
Adrian.
My father's voice was cold, final. I'm calling to inform you that your trust fund has been suspended, effective immediately. Your credit cards are canceled. The apartment lease we've been paying is terminated at month's end. You'll need to return the car by Friday. My stomach dropped. Dad. You made your choice. Now live with it. When that girl leaves you broken and penniless, don't come crawling back. The Cross family doesn't accept failure. He hung up. Layla looked up from her laptop. What's wrong? I just lost everything. She closed her computer, came over, wrapped her arms around me. No, you didn't. You lost their everything. There's a difference. Layla, I'm serious. I have nothing now. You have me. We'll figure it out. I can't even pay rent. Then we'll get a cheaper place. I'll pick up extra shifts at the bakery. You'll find a job. We'll survive. She pulled back, looked me dead in the eye. Unless you want to go back, I'd understand if. Never. Then we start now.
Today.
No safety net. No family money. Just us. She made it sound simple. Like walking away from billions was just another Tuesday. But watching her face, seeing zero doubt, zero fear, only determination, I realized something crucial. My parents had spent 22 years trying to teach me that money equaled worth. Layla destroyed that lesson in one sentence. Without their name, I was nothing?
Wrong.
Without their name, I was finally free. What's the biggest sacrifice you've made for love? Tell us in the comments. The ceiling dripped on our bed at 2 a.m., and Layla didn't even wake up. I lay there in our basement studio, watching rusty water pool on the blanket between us, and wondered if my father was right. Maybe I was nothing without the cross name. Maybe love wasn't enough when the heat didn't work and the landlord ignored every call and your girlfriend worked 16-hour days at a bakery just to keep the lights on. Layla stirred, felt the wet spot, sat up. Again? Yeah. She grabbed the mixing bowl we kept by the bed, positioned it under the leak, then curled back against me like nothing happened. At least it's consistent. This is insane. You deserve better than this. Better than you? She kissed my shoulder. Not possible. I'm serious, Layla. You're working yourself to death. I'm barely covering groceries with this entry-level analyst job. We're living in a place that's literally falling apart. So we fix it. With what money? With time, patience, stubborn refusal to quit. She propped herself up on one elbow. Adrienne, you think I care about leaky ceilings? I grew up in a building where the elevator broke twice a month and the hot water only worked on Thursdays. This. She gestured around our tiny space. This is ours. Nobody can take it away because we earned it. I pulled her close, breathing in the smell of vanilla and flour that always clung to her hair. She'd been up since 4 a.m. baking croissants. She'd work until 7 p.m., come home exhausted, and still find energy to ask about my day. Meanwhile, my parents were probably sipping wine in their climate-controlled mansion, congratulating themselves on cutting off their failure of a son. What if we can't make it? I whispered. Then we'll fail together. But we're not going to fail. She fell asleep in 30 seconds. I lay awake until dawn, listening to drips hitting the bowl, counting each one like a reminder of how far I'd fallen. Or how far I'd climbed, depending on who was measuring. My job at Mitchell Aviation Consulting was everything my father said I couldn't handle. Junior analyst position, bottom rung, the guy who made copies and organized files while senior partners made real decisions. I'd gone from heir to a billion-dollar empire to the office, nobody, who restocked the coffee station. And I loved every second of it. Because I was learning. Actually learning. Not having information handed to me because of my last name. I was earning knowledge through late nights and early mornings, through mistakes that taught me more than any Ivy League professor ever could. My supervisor, Janet Chen, was a former Air Force logistics officer who ran our team like a military operation. She didn't care that I'd gone to Northwestern. Didn't care about my background. She cared about results. Cross, these fuel efficiency reports are garbage, she said one morning, dropping a stack of papers on my desk. Redo them. All of them. I need actual analysis, not just data vomit. Yes, ma'am. And stop calling me ma'am. Makes me feel old. I redid those reports 4 times before she accepted them. But on the 5th try, she nodded. Better. You're starting to think instead of just process. Keep that up, you might actually be useful someday. Highest compliment I'd ever received. Months blurred together. Layla's bakery started gaining traction, local food bloggers discovering her croissants and sourdough. My reports at Mitchell got better, sharper, more insightful. Janet promoted me to associate analyst, small bump in pay, massive bump in responsibilities. We moved out of the basement studio into a slightly less terrible one-bedroom where only the bathroom ceiling leaked. Progress. One night, Layla came home with flour in her hair and fire in her eyes. I got offered a contract. What kind of contract? Wholesale. A coffee chain wants me to supply pastries for 6 locations. It's 1,200 units a week, Adrienne. 1,200. That's incredible. Can you handle that volume? If I hire help and upgrade equipment. She pulled out a crumpled business plan covered in notes. I did the math. I'd need a $15,000 loan for a commercial mixer and additional oven space. The profit margins would let me pay it back in 8 months. Where would you get 15,000? Bank loan. I have good credit, solid financials, and a guaranteed contract.
She paused.
Or you could call your parents. Absolutely not. Adrian, this is my dream we're talking about. If swallowing your pride for one phone call means. It's not about pride. It's about not owing them anything ever again. You built this bakery from nothing. You're going to grow it the same way. No cross-family favors. No strings attached to their money. I grabbed her business plan. Let's go to the bank tomorrow. Together. The bank approved her loan in 3 days. Layla cried when she signed the papers, and I realized my father had been wrong about something fundamental. Success didn't require inheritance. It required someone believing in you enough to take a risk. Layla hired 2 assistants, upgraded her equipment, and delivered on that contract flawlessly. More contracts followed. Her little bakery became the little bakery everyone talked about. Meanwhile, I was climbing at Mitchell. Janet put me on a major project analyzing route efficiency for a mid-sized charter company. I found inefficiencies that could save them millions annually. The client was thrilled. Janet was impressed. I got promoted again. You're good at this, she said after the presentation. Better than good. You see patterns other analysts miss. Thank you. Why aviation? Most business grads chase finance or tech. Family business was aviation. I grew up around it. But you're not working for the family business. Long story. I've got time. So I told her about my parents, the disowning starting from 0. She listened without interrupting, then nodded slowly. Good. People who've never struggled make terrible analysts. They don't understand desperation, resourcefulness, or creative problem-solving. You've lived all 3. She stood up. Keep doing what you're doing. In 5 years, you'll be running projects, not just supporting them. She was wrong about the timeline. It took 3 years, not 5. By year 3, I was managing major accounts, consulting directly with airline executives, building relationships based on competence instead of connections. I was making real money now, enough that Layla and I moved into an actual apartment with working heat and 0 ceiling leaks. Small victories. But they felt massive. One morning, over coffee in our leak-free kitchen, Layla said something that changed everything. What if you started your own firm? What? You're basically building Mitchell's reputation with your projects. Why not build your own? Starting an aviation consulting firm requires capital, clients, reputation. You have reputation. Your clients love you. And capital? She smiled. I know a great baker who's doing pretty well these days. Partners? I stared at her. You'd invest your bakery profits into my business idea? Our business idea. You helped me build my dream. Let me help you build yours. That conversation planted a seed that would eventually become Astrojet. But first, I had to learn one more crucial lesson. Losing everything had taught me how to build from nothing. Now I needed to learn how to dream bigger than survival. Have you ever had someone believe in you when nobody else did? Share your story below. The rejection letter came on a Tuesday, the crisp white paper and bank logo feeling like a slap in the face. We regret to inform you that your business loan application has been denied. I stared at those words until they blurred, hoping they'd change. They didn't. My dream of launching a boutique aviation company, years of planning, modeling, and grinding, died in a few sentences. Layla found me hunched at the kitchen table, surrounded by spreadsheets and the ruins of my confidence. How bad? She asked. Dead on arrival, I said. They want assets, a track record, a cosigner, basically everything I left behind. She didn't flinch. She tore the letter into confetti. Then we do it without them. You can't bootstrap aviation, I told her. Insurance alone. How much? $250,000. Then we find it. And she meant it. She sold her car, brought a partner into her bakery, even suggested a home equity loan. Why not risk it? You risked everything for me once, she said. That's when I knew whatever happened, she was all in. We raised $198,000, every last safety net gone. I registered Cross Aviation Solutions, keeping the name my parents had abandoned. If they wanted me erased, fine. But not my name, not my drive. My first client was a struggling charter company in Ohio. I charged $1,200, saved them $80,000, and got referrals. Soon, word spread. By month 6, I had 11 clients. By year 1, 23. My first employee, Marcus, a former air traffic controller, became my right hand. The office was a tiny space above a dry cleaner, but it was ours. Then Janet from Mitchell, my old boss, called. Heard you went solo.
Brave.
Stupid, too. Thanks. I've got clients who need you. Don't make me regret this. Those referrals turned into six-figure contracts. We weren't scraping by anymore. We were building something real. Layla threw me a pizza party when we hit our first million. She made a cake that said, "I told you so." The next big turn came in New York. A client, Richard Mendez, looked me dead in the eye and said, "You're good at fixing other people's problems. When are you going to start your own airline?" I laughed. I'm a consultant. Why not both? There's a gap in the market. People who want the private jet experience without the billionaire attitude. Build for them and you'll print money. He handed me a card. David Chen, aviation investor. I didn't call him for 3 weeks. I was scared of success, of losing everything again. Layla found the card. Why haven't you called? Because we're finally comfortable. She handed me my phone. Comfortable isn't fulfilled. David Chen listened to my pitch for 45 minutes, silent the whole time. Then, why you? Because I know both worlds. I grew up around extreme wealth. I know what they want. But I built from nothing, so I know how to run lean. I'm the bridge. He smiled. When can you start? 3 months later, Astrojet was born. 2 leased jets. 8 employees. A simple promise. Luxury without arrogance. Our first client, a tech entrepreneur, posted a viral review. Finally, a private airline that treats you like a guest, not a wallet. The bookings exploded. For more jets, more routes, more crew, more investors. Year 1, $8 million revenue. Year 2, $23 million. Year 4, $67 million. Magazines called me the maverick from nowhere. They didn't know I was a cross of those crosses. The irony tasted sweet. Until the day Marcus walked into my office. You'll want to see this. Tomorrow's manifest glowed on his tablet. Client, Cross family. Destination, Palm Beach. Contact, Helena Cross. My mother. She'd booked a flight. On my airline. The universe has a cruel sense of humor. What would you do if the people who once rejected you ended up needing you? Comment below. Elise tugged my sleeve at breakfast, syrup on her chin, eyes wide with 6-year-old wonder. Daddy, can we go to your work today? Maybe not today, sweetheart. But you promised I could see the planes. Layla caught my hesitation. What's wrong? My mother's flying out of the Manhattan terminal this afternoon. On our airline. Her eyes widened. She knows it's yours? Doubt it. She probably has no idea the airline she's boarding belongs to the son she disowned. Layla set her cup down. You going to tell her? I don't know. Part of me wants to see her face when she realizes. Another part wants to stay far away. What does your gut say? That I should bring Elise. Let her meet the grandmother who's ignored her for 6 years. Layla squeezed my hand. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. I went. Not for confrontation, for closure. To watch the woman who said I'd be nothing without her name walk through a terminal built by the man who proved her wrong. Quiet, poetic justice. The Astrojet executive lounge glowed warm and calm. Everything I'd built to contrast her world. No hierarchy, no arrogance, just respect. At 4:07, 3 black SUVs pulled up. The Cross family arrival was still a production. Assistants, luggage, commands barked like law. My mother stepped out, 63, ageless and immaculate. Silver hair, white suit, a woman carved from ice and self-control. Behind her, Damon, my brother, smug, polished, already on his phone. Elise pressed against my leg. Daddy, who are they? Family I used to know. They look fancy. They are. On the outside. Inside the lounge, my mother's voice carried like a bell. Confirm the villa is ready. I want the guest wing prepared, and the chef waiting by 7. Same tone. Same power. The world still bent to her will. Then Elise slipped free. Grandma, she called out, voice bright and innocent. Everything froze. My mother turned, scanning for whoever dared call her that. Her eyes landed on Elise. Denim overalls, light-up sneakers, and a smile wide enough to break any wall. Confusion. Recognition. Then cold calculation. Our eyes met across the lounge. 12 years of silence condensed into 3 seconds. She knew exactly who we were. Elise reached her, still beaming. Grandma, Daddy said you were fancy, and he was right. Your shoes are so shiny. And Helena Cross, my mother, frowned, adjusted her sunglasses, and said, she's not with us. For words. Casual. Cool. Final. Her assistant froze. Ma'am.
Handle it, she snapped.
We're running late. She walked away. Didn't say hello. Didn't even look back. Elise stood there, smile fading. Daddy, she didn't hear me? I picked her up, throat tight. She heard you, baby. Why didn't she talk to me? Because some people forget how to love. That's not your fault. Damon passed, smirking. Still making scenes, Adrian? Some things never change. And just like that, the crosses disappeared toward the jet, leaving the lounge filled with awkward silence. I knelt beside Elise. Sweetheart, go with Marcus for a bit, okay? Are you mad at Grandma?
No.
Just disappointed. When she left, I stared out at the window, my plane, my crew, my logo. All mine. And she sat inside, pretending none of it mattered. Pretending my daughter didn't exist. Something inside me snapped. Ground that flight, I told the operations desk. Sarah blinked. Sir? I own this airline.
Ground. That.
Flight. 30 seconds later, my phone rang. Unknown number. What is the meaning of this delay? Her voice, sharp, irritated. This is Adrian Cross speaking, Mrs. Cross. The airline you're flying belongs to the son you disowned. Silence. Long, heavy. The little girl you just dismissed? That's your granddaughter, Elise. The one you've refused to meet for 6 years. I paused. The plane doesn't move until you come back here and apologize to her. Not to me. To her. You can't do this. Sue me. I have lawyers now, too. I hung up. Minutes later, the jet door opened. She stepped out, immaculate as ever, but the composure had cracks. Damon trailed behind her, furious. Assistants whispered. Helena stopped 3 feet from us, hesitated, then took off her sunglasses. Her eyes were red. I lifted Elise. Say hello one more time, sweetheart. Hi, Grandma, she whispered, the light in her voice dimmed but not gone. Helena looked at her for a long time. The woman who had once chosen pride over family stood there stripped of both. No press. No shareholders. Just a mother facing the child of the son she'd abandoned. Would you ground a plane to teach someone respect? Tell me what you'd do. My mother's hand trembled as she lowered her sunglasses, a crack in the perfect composure Helena Cross wore like armor. Standing a few feet from the granddaughter she'd ignored, her control faltered. Adrian, I didn't know you'd be here. That's not an apology, I said, shifting Elise in my arms. You walked past your granddaughter like she was invisible. Fix it. Damon sneered. You can't ground our flight because your feelings got hurt. That's abuse of power. Abuse of power? I snapped. You want to talk about that? How about 20 years of watching our parents destroy anyone who didn't fit their image? Being disowned for choosing love over legacy? That's abuse of power. I gestured around the lounge. This is consequences. Helena's assistant whispered to her, but she waved her off and looked at Elise. Really looked. Hello, she said softly. You're Elise? Elise nodded. I'm sorry I didn't speak to you before. That was unkind. The apology came awkwardly, as though she was translating from another language. You have a beautiful name. Daddy picked it, Elise said. It means God's promise. Helena's eyes flicked toward me. Did he tell you anything about me? He said you lived in a big house and forgot how to love. But maybe you could remember if you tried really hard. Helena's face cracked, the mask slipping just long enough to show the woman buried under decades of pride. I did forget, she whispered. For a very long time. The lounge had gone silent. Even the staff pretended not to stare. Marcus stood nearby with Elise's juice box, watching the family drama unfold. Damon broke the tension. This is ridiculous. Adrian, you've made your point. Let us board.
No.
You can't hold us hostage. I'm not. You're free to leave anytime. But not on my airline until I get a real apology. Not PR spin. Real words for a child who deserves them. Helena met my eyes, fragile for the first time in 12 years. What do you want me to say? Whatever's true.
If you're sorry, say it.
If you're not, say that too. Just don't lie to her like you lied to me. She knelt down to Elise's level. Elise, I made a terrible mistake. When you called to me, I was scared, not of you, but of what you represented. Your father walked away because I couldn't give him what he needed. Seeing you reminded me of everything I lost. Her voice trembled. You did nothing wrong. The fault is mine. Elise studied her. Are you still scared? Terrified. Of what? That I waited too long. That some mistakes can't be fixed. Daddy says mistakes are just lessons that hurt. You can still learn from them. Tears glistened in Helena's eyes. She rose, meeting mine. You raised her well. Layla and I both did, I said. No thanks to you. I know, she whispered. May we board now? That depends. Are you going to Palm Beach to forget this happened? I don't think I could forget this if I tried. I set Elise down. Say goodbye to your grandmother. Bye, Grandma. Maybe next time you can meet my mom. She makes really good cookies. Helena smiled, almost genuinely. I'd like that. I nodded to the operations manager. Clear them for departure. As they walked toward the jet, Damon muttered about dramatic displays, but Helena paused at the door. Adrian, your father was wrong. About everything. I see that now. Then she boarded, disappearing into the aircraft that carried my company's name. Elise sipped her juice and asked, Did we just teach Grandma something? Yeah, baby. We did.
Good.
She seemed like she needed it. The jet lifted into the sky I'd spent 12 years fighting to own. I felt victorious and exhausted. That evening, I told Layla everything as she cooked dinner. Elise played nearby, blissfully unaware of the emotional war that had just ended. How do you feel? Layla asked. I don't know. Part of me wanted her to grovel. Part just wanted her to see what she missed. And did she? I think so. What happens now? Nothing. She goes back to her mansion, I go back to running my airline, and life continues. Layla wrapped her arms around me. You know she'll call. Maybe. Definitely. You gave her the first real consequence in decades. People like that either double down or crumble. She crumbled. She'll reach out. And if she does? Do it for you and Elise, not revenge. She was right. She always was. 3 days later, a letter arrived, cream stationery, cross-family seal embossed. Inside, my mother's shaky handwriting. Adrian, I've spent days trying to find the right words. I failed. There are none for 12 years of absence, cruelty, and pride. But I'll try. Your father built our empire on the belief that weakness was death. I believed it too. When you chose love over legacy, I saw betrayal instead of courage. I was wrong. Watching you build something remarkable without our name or money has taught me more than 40 years of business. Meeting Elise broke something in me I didn't know needed breaking. I don't deserve forgiveness. But if you'll allow it, I'd like to know my granddaughter on your terms. The boy I disowned became a man I respect. That's not redemption. That's truth. Helena. I read it twice, folded it carefully, and tucked it away. Later, Elise asked, "Do you think Grandma remembered?" "Remembered what, sweetheart?" "How to love." "I think she's learning. It takes time." "Like when I learned to ride my bike?" "Exactly. Lots of falling before you get it right." She smiled, satisfied, and went back to her drawing. Sometimes justice isn't loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Watching someone realize what they lost, knowing you survived without them. That's power they can never take back. Have you ever had to teach family members about respect? Tell us your story below. The boardroom hummed with tension, 16 chairs framing the skyline of Manhattan. At the head sat David Chun, calm but calculating. Revenues up 43%. Client satisfaction's highest in the industry. Safety record flawless. So, why are we losing market share? I stood by the screen, charts glowing behind me. We're not losing it. We're choosing not to compete for certain clients. That's semantics, he countered. It's strategy. Traditional charters chase old money. Astrojet was built for people who value experience over image. Profitability comes from being selective, not desperate. Investor Margaret Torres leaned forward. Selective is expensive. We could triple revenue if we expanded our base. And lose our identity, I replied. The moment we chase everyone, we become replaceable. You understand wealthy clients, she said. But you walked away from that world. Things have changed. They want exclusivity, terminals, private memberships, what your family's companies offered. Her words landed like a punch. David's glance warned her to stop, but she didn't. Cross Holdings just announced a charter division. Custom fleet, exclusive membership, global rollout. Silence dropped. My mother's company. My past. Now my competitor. When? I asked. Next week. Industry buzz already started. They're calling it the future of luxury aviation. David looked up. Adrian, is this going to be a problem? Define problem. Will you stay objective? If Cross Holdings enters this market, we need you focused, not emotional. My family disowned me 12 years ago. I built Astrojet to prove I didn't need them. If they want to compete, fine. Let's see if money can buy what we've built. That's not an answer, Margaret pressed. Then here's one. Let them launch. Let them chase prestige while we serve people. When their empire cracks, we'll still be standing. David studied me. You sound confident. I've watched my family build on image my whole life. Image fades. Service lasts. The meeting ended with cautious approval. Investor speak for don't screw this up. Marcus caught me in the hall. You okay, boss? I'm fine. You don't look fine. You look like someone whose ex just started dating their best friend. Accurate, I muttered. But I'm going to win. Over the next 3 weeks, I called 87 of our top clients myself. No sales pitch, just connection. Checking in, listening. They all said the same thing. Astrojet made them feel known. That was our secret weapon, something Cross Holdings could never mass produce. Still, their announcement exploded across the industry. $200 million in investment, new jets, private terminals, and glossy ads declaring, experience aviation the way it was meant to be. Exclusive. Elegant. Cross. One night, Layla found me hunched over my laptop, spreadsheets glowing. You're obsessing, she said. I'm strategizing. No, you're obsessing.
Talk to me.
They'll fail. They're models built on elitism. They'll limit their own growth. And that bothers you because? Because part of me wants them to succeed, just so I can beat them at their best. Not petty, she said gently. Human. But you don't win by watching competitors. You win by staying true to your mission. When did you become a philosopher? When I married a man who still thinks he has something to prove to ghosts. She was right. As usual. 3 days later, the ghosts called back. My phone rang at Astrojet headquarters. Adrian, it's Helena. I need to see you. Today. Her voice wasn't sharp, it was tired. Almost fragile. Against my better judgment, I said yes. We met in a quiet midtown cafe, neutral ground. She arrived alone. No designer armor, no entourage. Just my mother, smaller than I remembered. Thank you for coming, she said. You said it was important. It is. I'm shutting down the charter division. I blinked. You're what? Canceling the launch. The board will hate it, the press will spin it, but I'm doing it anyway. Why? Because you were right. We were building it for prestige, not people. Everything you walked away from, we repackaged as innovation. Competing with my son to prove a point I don't believe in anymore. That's not strength. It's sickness. You've sunk $200 million into this. Sunk cost fallacy, she said simply. I know when to cut losses. This isn't about business. It's about realizing some competitions aren't worth winning. The board will fight you. I control 51%. Let them try. Maybe a little humility will do cross-holding some good. She smiled faintly. You taught us that. I exhaled. So, what do you want from me? Nothing. I just wanted you to know I see what you built, and I respect it. I'm not interfering anymore. She hesitated. Elise's birthday is next month. May I send a gift? You'll have to ask her mother. Layla's number? I wrote it on a napkin. She's protective. You heard Elise, you deal with her. As it should be. She took the napkin gently, as if it were something fragile. I don't expect forgiveness, Adrian. Just wanted you to know that watching you succeed where I failed has taught me more than 40 years of winning ever did. She left before I could answer. That night, David called. Cross Holdings just killed their charter division.
You know anything about that?
I might have heard something. This is huge. Without them, Astrojet's the dominant boutique charter company. Clients waiting to compare will default to us. You just changed the industry. He was right. But my mind wasn't on market share. It was on my mother sitting across from me in that cafe, finally choosing humility over pride. Sometimes the sweetest victory isn't crushing your competition. It's realizing they were never your enemy, just someone finally learning what you already knew. What would you do if a competitor suddenly backed down? Share your thoughts below. Elise's 7th birthday party was supposed to be simple. Backyard barbecue, 12 kids from her class, bounce house, pizza, cake. Normal childhood stuff. The kind of party I never had growing up, where hired entertainers performed and guests included senators' kids, and every moment was orchestrated for maximum social impact. This was different. This was real. Layla had spent 3 days planning decorations, making homemade goodie bags, and baking a unicorn cake that looked like it belonged in a professional bakery. Marcus offered to man the grill. Maria from the bakery brought extra desserts. Our small circle of actual friends showing up for a kid's birthday because they loved her, not because they needed to network.
Perfect.
Then, the morning of the party, a delivery truck arrived. Delivery for Elise Cross, the driver said, checking his clipboard. We didn't order anything, Layla said, stepping out onto the porch. Says here it's from Helena Cross. Signature required. My stomach dropped. The package was huge, wrapped in silver paper with an elaborate bow. Elise ran outside, saw it, and her eyes went wide. Is that for me? Apparently. I signed for it, tipped the driver, and carried the massive box inside. Elise tore into it with 7-year-old enthusiasm. Inside was a custom dollhouse, 3 stories tall, hand-painted in intricate detail, with tiny furniture and miniature people and working lights powered by batteries. It was beautiful, expensive, and completely over the top. Whoa, Elise breathed. Layla looked at me. Your mother sent this? Apparently. It's too much. I know. We can't keep it. Try telling her that. I gestured to Elise, who was already exploring every room of the dollhouse, completely enchanted. Layla pulled out her phone, dialed the number I'd given my mother. It rang 4 times before Helena answered. Hello. Mrs. Cross, this is Layla. We received your gift. Oh, good. I wasn't sure if it would arrive in time. Do you think Elise will like it? She loves it. Which is the problem. Silence on the other end. It's too much, Layla continued. It's beautiful and clearly expensive, and she's 7 years old. This isn't how we do things in our family. I apologize. I didn't mean to overstep. With respect, You've been overstepping since the day we met. You ignored my daughter, dismissed her at an airport, and now you're trying to buy your way into her life with extravagant gifts. That's not how relationships work. I'd never loved my wife more than I did in that moment. You're absolutely right, Helena said quietly. I don't know how to do this. I never learned how to be a grandmother, or even a decent mother. I'm trying, but I keep getting it wrong. Then stop trying so hard. Elise doesn't need expensive dollhouses. She needs consistency, honesty, and someone who shows up because they care, not because they feel guilty. What should I do? Layla looked at me, raised an eyebrow. I shrugged. This was her call. We're having Elise's birthday party this afternoon. 2:00. Our backyard. It's casual, loud, chaotic, and nothing like what you're probably used to. But if you want to know your granddaughter, that's where you should start. Another pause. May I come? If you leave the designer clothes and expensive gifts at home, show up as a grandmother, not a cross. I'll be there. She hung up. I looked at Layla. Did you just invite my mother to our house?
I did.
Problem. Just surprised. You said she apologized at the airport. You said she shut down her charter division to avoid competing with you. At some point, we have to decide if we're going to let her earn a second chance or keep punishing her forever. What if she ruins the party? Then we'll deal with it. But Elise deserves the chance to know her grandmother, and your mother deserves the chance to prove she's changed. Layla wrapped her arms around me. Plus, I want to see if Helena Cross can handle a backyard barbecue. Should be entertaining. At 1:45 p.m., our backyard was controlled chaos. Kids running everywhere, bounce house shaking, Marcus flipping burgers, music playing from a cheap Bluetooth speaker. Perfect 7-year-old birthday energy. At 2:03 p.m., a car pulled up. Not the usual black SUV. A regular sedan, driven by my mother herself, no driver, no assistant, no entourage. She stepped out wearing jeans and a simple blouse. I almost didn't recognize her. Elise ran up immediately. Grandma, you came? I did. Happy birthday, sweetheart. Did you bring the dollhouse? I sent it this morning. Did you like it? It's the best thing ever. Come see my party. Elise grabbed Helena's hand and dragged her into the backyard. My mother looked completely out of her element, surrounded by screaming children and suburban normalcy, but she didn't pull away. She let Elise show her everything. The bounce house, the cake table, the gift pile, the DIY photo booth Layla had set up. Layla approached her. Glad you could make it. Thank you for inviting me. I know I don't deserve it. You don't, but Elise does. So let's focus on her, not your redemption arc. Helena actually smiled. You're exactly what Adrian needed. Someone who doesn't let him or anyone else get away with nonsense. Learned it from watching what happens when nobody pushes back. They stood together, watching Elise play, and something shifted. Not forgiveness.
Not yet.
But maybe the beginning of possibility. The party continued. Kids played games, Marcus's burgers were a hit, cake was demolished with maximum mess. And through it all, my mother sat at the picnic table, talking with other parents like she was just another grandmother at a kid's party. At one point, a mom asked what she did for work. I run a company, Helena said simply. Real estate, mostly. Oh, that's interesting. My husband's in construction. They talked about building codes and city permits for 20 minutes. Normal conversation. No name dropping, no flexing, no power plays. Just two people talking. When the party wound down and parents started collecting their sugar-crashed kids, Elise ran to Helena. Will you come to my next birthday too? If your parents will have me. We'll see, I said, not committing. Helena nodded, understanding. That's fair. As she walked to her car, she turned back. Adrian, thank you for letting me try. Don't thank me yet. You haven't earned it. I know, but I will. She drove away, and Layla leaned against me. Well, she showed up. She did. Doesn't erase 12 years.
No.
But it's a start. That night, after Elise was asleep, buried in birthday presents and exhausted from happiness, I found the letter my mother had sent weeks earlier. Read it again. The shaky handwriting, the uncertain words, the admission that she'd been wrong. Maybe some people could change. Maybe some relationships could be rebuilt. Or maybe I just wanted to believe that because the alternative, staying angry forever, was exhausting. A week later, Helena called again. Adrian, I'd like to invite you, Layla, and Elise to dinner. At my home. Not the mansion, my apartment in the city. Small, private, just family. Why? Because I'm trying to build something I should have built decades ago. A relationship with my son. And I don't know how to do it except to keep showing up and hoping you'll eventually let me in. I looked at Layla. She nodded. Saturday at 6. We'll be there. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, Mom. You haven't earned it. The word, Mom, slipped out without planning. She caught it, and I could hear her breath hitch. The apartment wasn't what I expected. Not a penthouse, not gilded wealth, just a modest two-bedroom in Midtown. My mother, Helena Cross, the woman who once ruled boardrooms, had traded marble halls for hardwood floors. 3 months now, she said. The mansion felt like a mausoleum. Too many ghosts. This feels real. Layla squeezed my hand, silently urging me to stay open. Dinner was shockingly normal. No staff, no silver cutlery, just chicken parmesan my mother had cooked herself. You cooked? I asked, still stunned. I watched YouTube videos, she said, and I nearly choked. Helena Cross, learning to cook online. Unbelievable. Elise chattered happily, sharing stories from school. My mother listened, awkward but trying. For once, the silence between us wasn't icy, just cautious. Later, over coffee, Helena broke it. I need to tell you the real reason I shut down the charter division. I thought you already did. Not all of it. She stared at her cup. Your father built Cross Holdings on ruthlessness. I believed it was the only way. When you left, I saw betrayal, not courage. But watching Astrojet grow through service and integrity shattered that illusion. I realized our company wasn't about aviation, it was about power. And power is a terrible god. Layla leaned in. That decision cost you politically. It did. Damon was furious. The board revolted. But I'm 63. I've spent 40 years winning at the wrong game. What's the point of empire if you die alone? She wasn't dramatic, she was honest. What do you want? Layla asked plainly. I want to know my granddaughter. Rebuild something real with my son. I don't expect forgiveness. Just a chance. Then you'll have to earn it, Layla said. No grand gifts, no bribery. Just consistency. Show up. Mean it. I can do that, Helena promised. 1 dinner a month, I added. Your schedule bends to hers. Fair. When Elise called, Grandma, come see my cartwheel. Helena's laugh filled the room. For the first time, she wasn't a CEO or a ghost of the past. She was just a grandmother. Driving home, Layla asked, Think she means it? I think she wants to. And she did. Over 6 months, Helena proved it. She called weekly, came to school plays, remembered birthdays. She washed dishes after dinner like a normal person. Small gestures but consistent ones. One night, she thanked me. I wrote a letter to your father's grave, she said softly. Told him everything he was wrong about. That love matters more than legacy. That we built a kingdom but lost our souls. Think he heard you? I don't care. I needed to say it. As Elise played in the yard, my mother looked at me. You built something lasting, Adrian. Not wealth.
Love.
That's the real legacy. I nodded. You know the hardest part? Tell me. Not hating you. Hate would have been easier. But I always hoped there was someone worth knowing under all that armor. And now I see her trying. She smiled through tears. I'll keep trying, however long it takes. Then Elise called again. Daddy, Grandma, push me. And for the first time in my life, we walked side by side. Almost family. Almost. But almost was a start. Then Damon showed up at Astrojet. My brother, smug, polished, and toxic. Mom's gone soft, he said. You've turned her into a sentimental fool. Cross Holdings is bleeding because of it. She's choosing family, I said. She's choosing weakness. She used to win. Now she talks about values. You did this. I stared him down. You want me to reject her, so she'll go back to making you richer. I want you to stop sabotaging what Dad built. Get out, Damon. He sneered. When Cross Holdings collapses, that's on you. I didn't respond. I just watched him leave. That night, I called my mother. She sighed when I told her. He's angry because I stopped playing the game. But I'd rather lose money than lose my family again. If the company can't survive with integrity, maybe it doesn't deserve to. Very uncross of you, I said. Good. 2 months later, headlines blazed. Cross Holdings restructures under new values. Damon was out. Helena declared, profit matters. But people matter more. The industry called it naive. My mother called it freedom. That month, she sat beside us in a cramped school auditorium, watching Elise play a tree in her class play. And she cried, not elegant tears, but raw, human ones. Did you see me, Grandma? Elise asked after. You were magnificent, she whispered. Why are you crying? Because I'm happy. In that parking lot, Helena turned to me. Thank you for not giving up on me. You're still earning it. I will. Every day. As her car disappeared into traffic, Layla leaned into me. She's changed. She has. You forgive her yet? Getting closer. Sometimes justice isn't revenge, it's redemption. Sometimes the victory isn't watching someone fall, but watching them finally rise into the person they should have been all along. Have you ever seen someone truly change? Tell us below.